This is Roger Simon.
And Lionel Chetwin.
First it was Hangover, then it was The Wedding Crashers, and now it's Bridesmaids. What next? Well, how'd you like it?
I loved it. I loved this film. I loved it for so many reasons. First of all, just the technical stuff. It was unselfconsciously cast. You've got Melissa McCarthy, large lady from Mike and Molly. They didn't, play on the fact that she's a big woman. Part could have been played by a skinny woman. It made no difference. It was wonderful. Likewise, her best friend, the co-star, is African American. Didn't have to be. It's this unselfconscious casting, which says that you're dealing with a very contemporary film. I thought the writing, Roger, we talk about the writing all the time because after all, we are scribes. We are elevated souls, right? Wonderful. I mean, nothing is left out. Every little dot every I is dotted, every T is crossed by the end of the film. So all of those constructive parts are solid. It delivers entertainment. I laughed. I thought it was wonderful. I was touched. I believed it. You know, those are the kind of films that we used to make. I'm sorry.
For me, I didn't feel the same way. No, I didn't mind it. But I liked Hangover and The Wedding Crashers a lot better. I'll tell you why. I mean, was there good stuff in it? Absolutely. I felt that it ran 15 minutes too long for me, and that it was... there was stuff in it, like the love story between the protagonist and the cop went on and on and on, and it didn't quite make it for me. And it reminded me of an anecdote from the great Billy Wilder, who, this is, after all of these movies are masked love stories, really.
Yeah, of course.
And Wilder was crossing the studio lot at Paramount, and there was this guy that said, Sam, what's your next picture? And he says, it's a love story. And Wilder said, what keeps them apart? Which is the great thing for love stories, and what kept the heroine here, Kristen Wiig, apart from the cop, was pretty thin gruel because you knew that they're going to be together, and there was no.
Okay, a few quick things. Number one, Billy Wilder's greatest line I ever got from him was, well, it's not very good. It's like being a chambermaid in a hotel. You get to make the bed, but you don't get to play in it, which is absolutely true.
We know that.
The love story in Bridesmaids, you need to get in touch with your feminine side a little more, like me. I mean, no, I mean, he was, from the moment she meets him, it's a relationship she'd like to have. It's a relationship any woman presumably would like to have, and she has to work toward it. He isn't set up as an no, but I mean,
it's like boonga, boonga,
well, okay. And in terms of being funny, look, it's not Hangover in this sense, okay? Hangover's a gross-out movie. Hangover is kind of barely past the adolescent male comedy. Barely. It's past it, but barely. This is not like that at all. This is much more, I'm not saying I.L. Diamond would have written it and Billy Wilder would have directed it, but it's closer to that than it is, for me, to a film like Hangover. It's well written. Gosh, it's well written.
You know, I happen to have seen Hangover twice. I don't usually see those movies twice. And Hangover is really well written and does that on its eyes. It's very cleverly constructed.
It's very clever construction, no question. Yeah.
As is, up until the end, The Wedding Crasher, which is another of this genre. I think there's a whole kind of... What does this tell us, by the way, that last minute before weddings has become a huge genre now in our culture, in our popular culture?
Yeah, I think you got a generation of people who want to get married but don't want to get married. I think, by the way, I thought that was her. Where does she go? She goes back to her bed, which is, if you know women at all, that's where they go.
Everybody is and looks 40 or 45 in this movie. I mean, that's traditional in Hollywood movies because the way people grow up and so forth.
But I think they're meant to in this case.
I think they are,
I think that in our society, this crisis of commitment or marriage or what happens to you comes at that age. And by the way, John Hamm of Mad Men fame plays, I don't like to spoil a movie, but his great parting line to her is just brilliant. It says, "You're no longer my number 3," as she's standing on the edge of the road, which I thought was very funny. I thought it was clever, and I thought it was very well written. I thought very well performed. It's a kind of film that Hollywood hasn't been making. There is no gross-out moment.
Oh, wait a minute. There's that big throwing up scene in the wedding dresses. And then they
actually, that is a gross-out scene. Actually, that is
diarrhea.
You know what? That's true. Yeah, okay. Well, diarrhea in the middle of the street while wearing a wedding gown. Okay, a bit gross. And of course, the bad girl was a bad girl, but she had her saving grace at the end. She had her Alice, you're the greatest moment. I thought it was a good film. It was the kind of film that made Hollywood great, in the sense of a market force, because it had broad appeal. It has broad appeal. You know, look, it's not Hepburn and Tracy. But I wish we made more films like that. There'd be more work
Well,
for
you know,
good
I'll
people.
give you that. One of my problems with the film is I was looking forward to it because umpteen people said it was going to be great, and I went, "Okay, show me," and that kind of. And that's a phenomenon I think everybody knows. You know, maybe I was looking for it, but what that speaks to is something that we talk a lot about on here, is because we don't really want to be critics, because and it's an interesting role that we take because we're still writing films. And we're writing stuff, and we're being judged by critics.
Right.
And so that puts us in a very odd position, and essentially dishonest one, although we are, of course, people with opinions.
We're audience. I mean, we're legitimate audience. By the way, I was talking about I thought of something about the idea of the non-self-conscious casting of it. It is interesting that when you line those women up in Bridesmaid, there's kind of no stunning beauty there. There's no, I mean, they didn't go out to cast beautiful women. And,
no,
Ham is the one good-looking guy in the whole movie, and that's his point.
He's considered a schmuck. No, I mean, in truth, that's actually the best part of that movie, and I think that you're absolutely right in that. And I like that. I mean, although I like looking at beautiful women, I admit, I think this was a much more interesting casting in that way, and much more real to life. Yeah. Let's face it. So in that sense, it gets plaudits.
I'd actually go and see it again if Gloria wanted me to.
Well, go see Hangover again, and you'll see what I mean. This is Roger Simon.
And Lionel Chetwynd.
In Poliwood.